morning, Unity of Music City.
Good morning,
Good to see all your smiling faces this morning. Let's do some singing this morning. Let's start off by singing two songs. We're going to sing Woke Up This Morning and Use Me. Let's all stand. There you go. Get your clap on. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Rising and shining with my mind set on spirit. Rising and shining with my mind set on spirit. Rising and shining with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Walking and talking with my mind set on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind set on spirit. Walking and talking with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Woke up this morning with my mind set on spirit. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. One more time. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. All right, and use me. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think that God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I can do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. And God needs us to shine its light as me and as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you. And here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Come on and show me all that I can do. Come on and show me all that I can do. You sound great this morning. Please be seated.
Good morning, Unity of Music City. Let's begin this portion of our service by taking a deep centering breath. Today's centering statement is, my thoughts and emotions are forms of creative spiritual power. The more rooted we become in our spiritual practice, the more mindful we are of our thoughts and emotions. And when we are aware of our thoughts and emotions, we can choose to change them. When we experience negativity and pain, whether from the outside world or our inner experience, we can turn to the spiritual tools of forgiveness, gratitude, and kindness. When we follow these principles, we can change our thoughts and emotions for good. Now please repeat these affirming statements after me. I master my emotions by changing my thoughts. Every emotion I experience brings me great self-awareness.
Every emotion I experience brings me great self-awareness.
I am free to determine every response to every situation in my life.
I am free to determine every response to every situation in my life.
And so it is.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Music City, a place for authentic transformation. So there's two things in that statement right there that I want you to pull out of that. One is authenticity. When you come into this space, you can be your authentic self. You can be exactly who God made you. The second thing is that this is a place for authentic spiritual transformation. That means that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we are here to support you. No judgment allowed. So welcome, everyone, and have a great Sunday. Do we have any announcements?
We do. Good morning. Wednesday evening class from 6:30 to 8 p.m., focusing on the best-selling book, Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. This class is facilitated by our own Deb Moore in a workshop format with honest discussion and practical applications. To register, you go to the church website's PayPal section to pay $10 a week for the class and use the note feature to indicate that your payment is for the class. You can also email the church, unityofmusiccity@gmail.com, to register or if you have questions. Healing Arts is having a Zoom meeting, spiritual show and tell. Oh, that's interesting. Tuesday, May 31st from 6 p.m. to 7. Zoom information can be found on social media and our website. Healing Arts Energy Wellness Gathering and Sharing, Friday, June 10th. Got a lot going on, don't we? from 7 p.m. to 9. Quality Suites, Nashville Airport, that's here, 2615 Elm Hill Pike, Nashville. Donations are received. Wear comfortable clothing. Telling us how to dress now for this. Get ready. Get ready. Something's about to happen. I knew that was going to strike a comment from somebody. The prayer chaplains are always available for your prayers. If you have a prayer concern that you would like the chaplains to be made aware of, you can email that prayer request to uofmcprayerrequests@gmail.com. There's also a prayer box if you're present today in the back of the room to drop your prayer concerns in. Any and all prayer requests are welcome and are answered. Okay, that's got it.
All right. Well, we got some rain last night, didn't we?
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Now I don't have to water for a few days. That's a great thing. And it kind of dovetails exactly into our monthly mantra, which is, what a wonderful world. I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And we wouldn't have that without the rain. So I think we're going to have a few more days of rain on and off too. So let's enjoy it every chance that we get. So let's all stand and sing it. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yes. Thank you all. Please be seated.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today's affirmation: I cast a spell of joy with the words I speak. All together now. I cast a spell of joy with the words I speak. Wouldn't it be nice to be a wizard? To have a magic wand and the knowledge of countless magic spells? Well, maybe we are magical. Every affirmation, intention, vision board, thought, and prayer is a kind of incantation designed to move the universe in the direction of our highest and best. The spells you weave are contained in your energy, your attention, your words, and your actions. You are a powerful being, a child of God with creative force and spiritual vision. You are directly connected with the divine energy, the same energy that hung the stars in place and set the planets in motion. You are protected by a cloak of sacred aura, and your presence is announced with fanfare and reverence by the angels and their trumpets. You are a wizard, a mighty, powerful, creative, sacred wizard doing the work of good in the world. And everywhere you go, you cast spells of joy over yourself and those around you with the words you speak.
So as we move into this meditative portion of our service, maybe just settle a little bit more into your chair. See if you can get just 5% more relaxed. Letting the tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth, lowering your shoulders, feeling the chair and the earth beneath it completely supporting you. And in the same way that this physical earth wholly supports your physical being, the divine energy of the universe wholly supports your spiritual experience. The divine energy of the universe holds you as solidly and as surely as Mother Earth holds your body. And knowing that, remembering that, is our work. Remembering that we have divine creative force, that we have spiritual vision, remembering that we are directly connected with divine energy as our fingers are connected to our hand. Remembering that we are made of the same stuff that made the stars. Remembering that we are constantly protected by a cloak of sacred aura. That is all we are here to do, is to remember who we are. A divine child of God, a creative sacred force, the I am that I am and you are. That is who we are. That is what sustains us, what breathes life into us. What a glorious knowing. It's more than a thought, it is a knowing. This knowing who we are is the beginning and end of our spiritual journey. And for a moment now, we sit together in this knowing, in the silence. In the silence. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new. We are the love that heals all creation. We are creators with the power to make all things new. Our connection to God imbues in us a creative force and power that completely changes our life, makes all we experience brand new. And for that, we say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, Mother God, thank you for this day, for the love that you wash over me, and this joy in my heart I will share with the world. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, flowing through our hearts, we give thanks for the bread of our lives, for the hands in the earth, and the fruit of your womb. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, thank you for this day, for the love that you wash over me, and this joy in my heart I will share with the world. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be. Oh, Mother God, blessed be.
between the Karen Drucker and the Ricky Byers this morning, you're killing me up here, Ryan. That's some good stuff. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good morning to our folks watching online. I know there are quite a few people who watch regularly online. If you're there, say hi, because it keeps Crystal awake to respond to you. Fantastic. Hello, you all. Good to have you here. Good to have you here on this beautiful, beautiful sunny day after a good, nice, refreshing rain. And I'm with you there, Ryan. Didn't have to water last night, so it was beautiful. So we're in the middle of a series on our 7 belief statements. So to catch everybody up and to remind everyone, as a spiritual community, we met on several occasions, and we established what our principles and our beliefs were. These didn't change who we were, they reflected who we were. And so we created 7 belief statements, and we are on part 5. Those 7 belief statements are here. We've already talked about how a direct relationship with universal presence, known by many names, is available to all. We've talked about how love, peace, and joy are our highest spiritual principles. We've talked about how inclusion is our expression of oneness and we are all connected. Last week, we talked about how intuition is a guide to our spiritual understanding. And today, we move on to thoughts and emotions. So I was looking for the perfect picture for thoughts and emotions being forms of our creative spiritual power. And this is what I came up with. Nikki is going to be very upset that she is not here this morning, because if there's anything she loves more than me, it's Harry Potter. That's not exactly true, but we are neck and neck. Harry and I are neck and neck. And when I think about how thoughts and emotions are forms of our creative power, I think about that symbolism of the magic wand, right? I don't know, y'all know about the Wonder Woman stance, right? The power of the Wonder Woman stance, right? I did it this morning before I left my home. So if you do the Wonder Woman stance before you're getting ready to present, or you've got a big project coming up, or you just know you need some oomph for the day, I'm telling you, you feel different afterwards. You walk out, your spine is a little bit straighter, your head is held a little bit higher, and so that Wonder Woman stance is almost like a whole body mudra, right? It's like a whole body mudra. And so in the same kind of way, this is a whole body mudra, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to do anything truly magically powerful, but when I do this, it feels like I can. There is something about this that focuses my attention and my energy and my intention, and that's what's behind how thoughts and emotions are forms of our creative spiritual power. Are you laser-like focusing your energy and your attention? Now, as you know, about, I don't know how long ago it was, year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was, we stopped being officially affiliated with the Association of Unity Churches. We didn't get mad. We're not Unity, right? We just knew that we had a very unique kind of identity here in our spiritual community. We had that for many, many years while Denise Jurgen was the minister, our longtime minister for 16, 17, 18, 73 years. She was there for a long time. And that was our identity, this new shaping that we're having. But if there's anything that still aligns us 100% with unity, it's this right here. Because remember those 5 basic unity principles, those who've been around for a long time, this is like old home week, right? To look at these 5 basic unity principles again. And this idea of thoughts and emotions being creative forces in our life is all over these principles. We know there's only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God the good. We know that our essence is of God, therefore we are inherently good. And then that third one, we are co-creators with God, creating reality with thoughts held in mind. We see those thoughts showing up again in the next one. Through prayer and meditation, we align our heart-mind with God. We allow those sacred thoughts, those creative thoughts, to work in our life through prayer and meditation. And then through those thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth that we know. So this is 100% absolute basic Unity 101. Right? What I'm getting ready to talk about today, because of that, and because many of us have been around Unity for a long time, a lot of this is going to feel like a little bit of review maybe. But if you've been around Unity for a really long time, then you know more than anybody how often we need to be reminded of this. Almost on a daily basis. I needed to be reminded of it just this past week. So this reminder may come just in time for you. Deepak Chopra said that your very existence is evidence of your innate creativity. In every moment, you are co-creating your reality through your thoughts, your intentions, your words, and your actions. Now, this idea was something that Charles Fillmore came up with in the late 1800s. It's an idea that other New Thought and metaphysical leaders have been talking about for a long time. But we're at the place in our life and in our world where it's not uncommon now to see this thought just out in the mainstream world. It has seeped out into corporate culture. It has seeped out into just, I mean, you can find someone now who's never heard of Unity, never heard of New Thought, never heard of metaphysical thought, and they'll say something like, well, be careful what you're thinking. You're creating your reality. Right? Exactly. So this has seeped out into the larger world, and we know this. We know that our thoughts create our reality. Now, our statement, remember, was about thoughts and emotions and the creative power of both of those. So you know me, I'm an English professor. I'm going to start with the words. And I think it helps for us to understand the definition of these words. So when we start with the definition of emotion, first off, the class that we're doing on Wednesday night, and by the way, thank you for that announcement, Sherry, but at this point, if you get the Weekly Happenings email, and if you don't, let us know your email address, you can get it. At this point, just show up on the Zoom, and we'll figure the rest of it out later. But we're working with Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart, and she begins in the introduction of this book talking about how if there's one thing emotion researchers can agree on is that there's no one definition of emotion. Everybody's got a different definition of what they actually are, right? So I found three that I kind of liked. The first one is from Oxford Languages. It's a natural, instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. I love that word instinctive in there. It gives that element of emotions as these naturally occurring things that arise in our system, in our body, and our mind, right? So this instinctive state of mind, so that emotions are actually directly tied to these thoughts. The second one I found was from Merriam-Webster. A strong feeling such as anger, love, joy, or fear, often accompanied by a physical reaction. So that beginning of that one is probably more closely aligned with what most of us would have come up with. Well, the best way to describe an emotion is to give you examples of emotions. When you feel love, when you feel fear, when you feel anger, that's an emotion. But the important part of this is that it's accompanied by a physical reaction. I personally believe emotions live in the body. I've had the privilege of knowing a few very good massage therapists in my life, and if you ever talk to a massage, every single one of them I've ever known says the same thing. It's very possible that someone on my table will suddenly start crying, and they don't know why. I've had the experience twice in my life of being on a massage table, and suddenly I am laughing uproariously, and I have no clue why I'm doing that. I love the fact that that's what's living in my body, right? Laughter. Actually, it took one look at my body, and it just started laughing. Ba-dum-bum. Thank you. I'll be here all week. So these emotions, you can manipulate. You can do body work. You can do Reiki. You can do energy work, and those emotions come out of us because they're a part of our physical self. The third one, I love this one, from Britannica, a complex experience of consciousness. A complex experience of consciousness, bodily sensation, and behavior that reflects the personal significance of a thing, event, or state of affairs. So that personal significance is important because, as we all know, Frank and I can have the same experience and we feel it differently. It enters our body differently. We have a different reaction to it. So this is a very personal part of our experience, or is this emotional experience that we're having. So that's emotions. And then thought. Thought is actually a little easier because when we try to define thought, what we really get is thought is what comes from thinking. When you think, you produce thoughts, right? An idea or opinion produced by thinking, or a developed intention or plan. You know the way we use the word thought when we say, well, I have the thought that I'm going to go to Frank's birthday party when it comes around, right? I have this thought that this is what we're going to do. So I love that aspect of thought, that thoughts really, and even when we don't use the word in that way, we're still developing an intention. We're developing a plan through those thoughts. And the third, of course, the product of mental activity. I mean, this is I know it's blowing your mind, just how much that is, right? So a man goes to his therapist, and the therapist says to him, "How are you feeling?" And the man says, "I feel like I'm not good enough." And the therapist, because she was a really good therapist, says, "That's a thought, that's not a feeling. How are you feeling?" And think about how many times in our life that we have applied the word feeling or emotion to something that our mind is thinking. How closely connected they are. So what is the difference, the defining line difference? As I was working on this talk, I thought that maybe this was the difference, that thoughts are produced by the mind. And of course, the mind is that ego mind, right? That small s self. Thoughts are produced by the mind, and emotions are kind of natural responses to various stimuli, and some of those stimuli can be our thoughts. They're one of the stimuli that create our emotional experience, how we feel in our life. So once I thought, well, I think this is true. So then I went to Google, the knower of all things. And I asked Google if I was right. And it turns out I kind of am. So here's what I found. I found that there are three things we can identify here. An emotion is a physical state as a result of stimuli. It's a physical state. Have you ever had your heart broken? You feel that in your body. Have you ever been afraid? You feel that in your body. Have you ever been overjoyed? You feel that in your body. I have not done this study, nor am I a neurophysicist, but I believe you could possibly do a study where you could measure just the very little bitty, tiniest bits of weight. And I bet that when we're sad, we're heavier. I bet we're physically heavier than we are when we're happy and light. I think those are not just figurative words. I think they're literal words, that we get heavier, right? So emotions are this physical state as a result of stimuli. Feelings are your experience of the emotion, right? I am feeling this. And then thoughts are all the words you use to describe it. I'm having a thought now about this emotion. But of course, thoughts and emotions go both ways. These are both creative forces. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The answer is yes, right? So we have thoughts and beliefs, we have feelings and emotions, and then we have actions and behaviors. We could also, in that blue part, put reality. The reality we're creating. Sometimes it feels like thoughts come first because our thoughts create a feeling in us. Because we hold a thought, because we hold a belief, we have a certain feeling that arises. But the truth is that our feelings can also affect our thoughts. There's this famous, I've heard this so many times I don't even know who the original story is. I think this has been several people's stories. So I'm just going to put it into the general mythos. That story of someone who has a very serious illness, maybe have cancer. They're in the hospital and they say, I only want to see comedies, right? I only want to hear happy music because I'm going to shift my vibration and I'm going to do it by the way I feel first off. I'm not going to sit over here and feel heavy. I'm going to feel light, and let's see what happens as a result of that. So those arrows all go both ways. Our emotions impact our thoughts impact our emotion. Both of those impact our reality impacts both of those. So we've got this, what psychologists call a cognitive emotive loop that we can get into, where we think things and then we feel things about them, which create that we think about them more that way, and then we feel more, and we keep becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy for our own stuff, right? Now I'm getting ready to show you a quote that you're not going to like, all right? So I'm just warning you ahead of time. I shared a quote the first week of the Atlas of the Heart class that nobody liked. And I knew nobody liked it when I shared it, but I still stand by it. And here's the thing, just like that quote, this quote I'm getting ready to share with you isn't necessarily a quote that's supposed to tell you the way things should be. It's a quote telling you the way things kind of are. Because before you get to where you should be, you kind of have to know where you are, right? This is from Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love, if you've ever read that book or seen that movie. She said, your emotions are the slaves to your thoughts, and you are the slave to your emotions. And whether we like it or not, that's often true in our experience. Now here's the one thing that I want to make sure, I'm going to keep coming back to this, the one thing I make sure you hear from this. The I am that you are is a slave to nothing. The I am that you are is not enslaved by any of this, not even your own thoughts and your own emotions and your own experience. So keep that in mind. That being said, hallelujah, this is often true. Right? This is often true. And this cognitive emotive loop that does this, where our emotions are enslaved by our thoughts and our thoughts, right, and we are enslaved by our emotions and we keep having thoughts that keep perpetuating the same kind of stuff, puts us into something like this. I stole this from Becky Yates, the minister over at, former minister, retired minister at the Methodist Church where Dodson Chapel. I saw her comment on, I believe, Denise Jurgen's Facebook post about a week or 2 weeks ago. And she used this phrase, changed my life. You're in the whitewater flow. We think of flow as everything's going smoothly. Everything is going easy. Let me tell you, spiritual beings, you are always in the flow. Sometimes it's the whitewater flow. Sometimes it feels herky-jerky and there are boulders in your way and you better hold on. But I'll tell you something, you get through that flow on a raft and you have grown as a human being. I call it the flow of growth. This is the flow of growth. You're not flowing, you're just in the whitewater flow. I'll never forget that. I told Becky, I said, I'm totally stealing this for the rest of my life. We think of flow often as this. That's when we're in the flow. The gentle, glassy, smooth river. That's the flow we want to be. I call this the flow of grace. Oh, thank you. The flow of grace. Really, they're both the flows of growth and the flows of grace, because spiritual beings never stop growing and expanding in our consciousness, and we never step out of grace, ever. It just feels different to our human experience. This connection of thoughts and emotions to each other is not as new as we think it is, even though Joel Osteen has just figured it out last week. It is not. It is not as new as we think it is. We can go back almost 2,000 years to Marcus Aurelius, who was born in the year 121. That's, you know how those folks think they're, people who are like, it's a status symbol if you have a license plate whose number's like 11, right? Or something like, so this guy, he's got that birth year that's only 3 digits. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor of Rome. He was the last of what they call the 5 good emperors. He was the last of the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, an era of about 150 years of relative peace and prosperity. He was also a philosopher, and he said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So I love that he has attached the emotion with the thought. You want to live a happy life? Isn't that always the answer is yes? I want to live a happy life. Check the quality of your thoughts. We can go back even 600 or 700 years before him to Gautama Buddha and other way. I don't know what that did. Okay. And Buddha said in the 5th century BCE, we are shaped by our thoughts. We become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. Now, we don't often think of the word shadow in a positive connotation. We talk about, the dark side of the light chasers or light workers or light beings or whatever we call it. We talk about working with our shadow self, which is a really important thing to do, right? But the truth is this, if the light is shining on you, you will have a shadow. That's just the law of nature. And so if you have this shadow and you're on a sunny day, test it, you've got the whole summer to do so, and you find out that you're casting a shadow, try to run away from it. The only way to get rid of your shadow is to step into the dark, which I think could be a whole talk in and of itself. The way that we sometimes escape and shift and avoid our own awakening because we want to avoid our shadow self. But the shadow is just a piece that never leaves us. What if we had a shadow of joy that followed us everywhere we went? It's just my shadow of joy. I don't know, he goes everywhere I go. Yep, there he is. Yay, it's another joyful day. A shadow of joy. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. So it seems to me like the idea here is that we would like to move out of the rapids, out of the flow of growth, and into the flow of grace. So how do we do that? Well, you'll be happy to know that I have come up with a 6-step plan that will show you exactly how to do this, right? How do we go from the rapids to the gentle flow? Because even if I'm in the flow of growth, I may not want to hang out there for years on end. My goal is always to get back into the flow of pure grace. Always. So what do we do? 6 steps. Step number 1, the first step always is to acknowledge. Acknowledge the cognitive emotional loop that is causing the whitewater. Recognize that, look at this. Look what I'm doing again. Here I am. I'm in this cognitive emotional loop, and it is causing a growth flow for me, a whitewater flow. I need to first acknowledge that. We talked about this past week in our class about how one of the ways that when we first identify an emotion that we're experiencing, that's the first step to not identifying with that emotion. Because once I identify the emotion, I become the observer of it. It's not me. It's right there. I can point to it. Right? So the first step is to acknowledge. The second step is to forgive yourself for churning the water. You have to go into this with no judgment. Because if you go into a place of judgment with yourself, I've done it again. I'm sorry, why do I keep doing this to myself? I can tell you this, I have enough practice with judgment. It's part of my inheritance. I don't know about your family, but in my family, the inheritance I received was judgment. And what I know is that when judgment is in the room, everything else pales in comparison. Judgment becomes the 400-pound gorilla that's walking through the rooms of my mind, right? So I can't do this process sitting in judgment of myself. I can't sit there and go, I've been on this spiritual journey for 25 years. I shouldn't be doing this. I should know better by now. That's judgment. Every one of us needs reminding. Every single one of us. So forgive yourself. Step 3 is to make a choice. You have to actually make a choice to shift the flow. You have to go into the place where you decide, you know what, sometimes we know something so well that the knowing of it deludes us into thinking we're doing it. Right? We know this. We know, oh yeah, I know my thoughts create my reality. Yeah, sure. Haven't actively engaged that power for 3.5 years. But I know it. It's a part of who I am. It's in my system. We have to actually make the choice. I'm going to change this. I don't want to have the results of these thoughts that I'm having. I don't want this cognitive loop to continue. So I'm going to make a choice and I'm going to shift. Step 4, get grounded and pay attention to your body. Sometimes I can shift out of a cognitive emotional loop just by going and getting a massage. Oh, I feel so much better now. Broke that pattern, right? Let me get grounded. Let me go spend some time with Mother Nature. Let me light some incense. Let me sit on the ground. Let me put my hands in the dirt. Let me do some gardening, and let me pay attention to what's going on in my body. Where's it hurting right now? Where am I feeling this? Where do I feel this emotion in my body? Step 5, unwrap the thought with the inquiry that works for you. So what comes to my mind is the work of Byron Katie, right? That's a great process for stopping a cognitive emotional loop. And of course, Byron Katie's work is very simple. It's 4 questions. When we have this thought that's keeping us in this place, first, is this really true? Second, can I absolutely know that it's true? That's the one where I get stopped most of the time. Because I can convince myself that something's true. But if I stop myself and say, can I absolutely, right, beyond the shadow of a doubt, know that this is true? Well, no, not really. I can always think of other options. Number 3, how do I react when I think this thought is true? What is my typical go-to? What is my reaction? How do I feel? And number 4, what would I be without this thought? If I ever get all the way to step 4, the answer is always the same. What would I be without this thought? I'd be free. I'd be free. So that's one possibility. There are lots of others. You might have your own process for how you unwrap the thought with the inquiry that works. In other words, don't just walk away from it. I mean, sometimes that works, but sometimes we have to sit with it and go, wait a minute, I want to know why this keeps coming up for me because I want to shift out of this loop. So let me do this inquiry. And then step 6, when the gentle flow comes, dive into it completely with surrender and gratitude. That's an important step to me. To me, that's the most important. That is the step that does the most work in making sure I don't come back to this place. When I hit the flow of grace, to dive in completely without question, with total abandon, with total surrender, and say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. I was with a friend, this is like 30 years ago. It was a beautiful winter day. We had one of those rare snowstorms in Middle Tennessee, and it was a sunshiny morning the next morning. Nothing I like better than sunshine on snow. It's just like, it's happiness. And so I lived down the country. I had a whole bunch of acreage, and this friend of mine wanted to come out to my property and cut a Christmas tree because I had lots of trees that would work as Christmas trees. And so it's Sunday morning. I'll never forget it. We got this snow. Icicles are dripping. The sun is shining. We're walking through the woods, and all of a sudden, my friend, whom I cannot even remember her name, like I don't even know where she is now. She's still having an impact on my life. Let that be a lesson for you. Anyway, we're walking through the woods, and all of a sudden she says, thank you, God, for this beautiful day. I mean, that emphatically. And I knew in that moment, somehow on a core level, that her experience was amplified. We were experiencing the same day. We were just as joyous about it. We were just as enriched by it. But the fact that she dove into it with abandonment and gratitude and surrender, I knew that she was wholly in that day. And all I was doing was watching and remembering. 30 years later, more than I remember her name, I remember her willingness to surrender to that moment. So that is a 6-step process. But I actually have a bonus process for you. But wait, there's more. You can do the 6-step process, or you can do the 1-step process. And the 1-step process is to remember that you are not your thoughts and emotions. They are not you. In the process of self-inquiry that I learned from Muji, but a lot of people who are Advaita Vedanta teachers teach the same thing, and that is you are the presence that comes earlier than anything else. You are the divine presence that observes these things coming and going. Our thoughts and our emotions come, and our thoughts and our emotions go. Therefore, I am not them. I am not them. And what a moment of grace it is to step into that realization, to go into meditation, and when we're feeling all torn up about something, when we're grieving, when we're heartbroken, when we feel rejected, when we feel like we're not good enough, to go into our space and go into our personal presence of highest self and remember that I am not any of that. That is not me. I'm observing it. My human ego is feeling it. I can have compassion for the ego that is experiencing this, but I'm not it. I have found nothing in my own life that more immediately reduces pain than that. Than to go into that space and remember that I am not my thoughts and I am not my emotions. When I begin to access them as the creative forces they are, though, and they become the tools of my highest self, they begin to shape a whole new reality for me. Not only that, but we can, I don't even have the power just to shape my own reality through thoughts and emotions, but I think this is important to remember in spiritual community, that we have the power to shape each other as well. Now, hang with me for a moment, because a lot of us are in our heads are going, you can't make me feel anything I don't want to feel. You're right, I cannot. I can't change your thoughts, but thank God that I have loving people show up in my life every now and then that kickstart that for me. This past Wednesday, I had a really crappy morning. And it started with this. Some of you may not know this, but my part-time job is TikTok, all right? I have a little TikTok following that I've created of about, I think this morning it's about 112,000 people who care what I have to say for some reason. I don't know why. They follow me along, and so that's my part-time job. Wednesday morning I woke up, and I saw that I had a community guidelines violation. Now, if you're on social media at all, you know that this sometimes happens because somebody who disagrees with you decides to report you. It's what trolls do, right? But here's the thing. What I do on social media, what I try to do, sometimes I fail, what I try to do is I try to share love and joy and a better way of living, and I sometimes speak truth to power, and I sometimes call out injustice, and I'm just trying to get in there the best I know how, and some days I fail, and some days I succeed, but I just keep waking up and going, what am I to do today, right? And so what really got to me was that the community guidelines violation I had that they gave to me was for hateful behavior. That was like an egg was cracked on the top of my head and just rolled down me. That's the way it felt. It was like, that's what I said that morning. I cannot translate for you. I don't know what language that is. You misunderstood me. This is not, no, I appealed it. It's like, oh, no, that's not true. I appealed it. Somebody's out there just trolling me. I'm appealing it. They came back and they said, your appeal was denied. So all day long, I was working with, okay, what is the message from the universe for me in this? And the first thing that came to me was said, this is just a gentle reminder to be impeccable with your word. I want you to hold this as a reminder to be very, very careful, and then be one step more careful. Make sure you only, okay, I'm swimming in that, I'm living that, and I'm still feeling it. The egg is still all over me. And I had to go to the dentist that afternoon. That's like salt in the wound. So I get to the dentist that afternoon. I'm sitting in the waiting room, just kind of sitting there, and this young woman, about 22 or 23 years old, she walks over to me and she goes, "Are you on TikTok?" And I said, yes, I am. And she said, "Well, I live in Hartsville," which, for those of you who don't know, is a very, very teeny tiny, out in the country town, way out in the sticks. "I live in Hartsville, and I was starting to believe I was the only person who had my values. But the work you're doing is so important. We need your voice." And I'll tell you what happened. My entire emotional outlook changed immediately. My whole world changed. How my body felt changed. My mind, the thoughts I was having changed. Everything in my system changed because that young woman took the opportunity to come out and speak some love. And I began to think, man, what power we have with each other. And we live in a world right now where that power is misused a lot. And people are speaking a lot of hateful, harmful spells on people, right? All the more reason why we have to stick with our tribe, and we have to remind each other, hey, you're going to go cast good spells this week. We need your voice. You're important. You've helped me. I'm so appreciative that someone shares my values. Thank you. Thank you for being here on this planet. Thank you for speaking up. And that can shift us. Let's do a little Bible. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. The New King James Version says, meditate on these things. Take all of that stuff into your inner being. I know how hard it is. I live in this world. This world feels crazy right now. It's so easy to let that seep in. All the more reason why we need, on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, to remind ourselves, I am not that experienced. Let me think on these things. Let me focus my energy. Let me point my wand toward that stuff right there. One of the side effects of realizing the creative power of our thoughts and emotions, by the way, goes back to our talk last week about intuition. When we start to use our thoughts and emotions as the creative tools they are, they sharpen our intuition. Remember that intuition is when you don't know how you know, but you know, and that's all you need to know. Right? And that last line is what we spiritual beings live in the most. You know what? I don't need to know. My ego needs to know. My mind needs to know. There's nothing wrong with learning and growing and increasing our spiritual understanding. But the truth of the matter is, if I can live in the flow of grace, in the gentle flow, that's all I need to know. I don't need to know anything else about that. And the more that we work with this, and the more that we remember this, the more that we become this person of spiritual balance and enlightenment. Enlightenment is not an event, it's a practice. And when we practice enlightenment, that means that we are engaging the creative power of our thoughts and our emotions and our intuition, and we are using them in the highest and best for ourselves and for others. And so it is. Namaste.
Not sure what it is, but since you have been doing this series on our beliefs and our principles that we've come up with, it is so easy for us to go into gratitude after hearing these principles. They're so important for us. Is gratitude a thought or an emotion or both?
Gratitude is the answer to life.
Yes. It is so much easier to have a great day when you're in gratitude, right? When you wake up every morning and you say thank you. I practice something called a rampage of gratitude. And that's where I just think of everything in my life that I should be grateful for. And I can guarantee you it puts you in a good mood right then and there. So let's all take just a moment to kind of sit in that gratitude and be thankful for this spiritual community, for all of the support that we have, the love that we give each other. Take a look around the room and know that these people love you. And let's also take a look at our ways to give, which is PayPal through that QR code. That's a QR code for untechy people. You can take a picture of that on your phone and go straight to our website and make a donation. The red bucket is in the back there for all your paper donations, and you can also do an automatic bank draft if that floats your boat. I also do Amazon Smile and the Kroger Rewards card. We get a little slice of that every time you go shopping. So keep that in mind as you are thinking about ways to give to your source of spiritual community. And let's say our affirmation together for our abundance. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I choose to give and all I achieve. And we can sing about that too. Let's sing, I am grateful. I am grateful for another day of living. Grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful to receive life's many blessings. And I'm grateful for the love I have to give. I am grateful for another day of living. I'm grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful to receive life's many blessings. And I'm grateful for the love I have to give. And I'm grateful for the love I have to give. Yes, we are. Sherry, it's good to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Will you lead us in the prayer for protection?
Absolutely.
All right, let's all stand and say it together.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God folds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. All is well, life is good. We are truly blessed. So it is. Thank you all
So
for
it
coming.
is.
We'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody online.